In this video, we brainstorm about the plot for the dual rule story. In previous brainstorming, we've talked about pirates who are shapeshifters and elementals who can control different elements. We haven't decided which ones exactly, but water, fire, air, plant, and ground have all been mentioned. We've also talked about the ruler of the humans in this world hating shapeshifters and or elementals and trying to enslave or use them. Now it's time to see what we can make of this in terms of plot. As for the actual plot.
Yes, you can have one of those.
To backtrack a little bit of what we have.
Yes.
We have a world where there are elementals for a lot of different elements, and they are what humans at least perceive as half human, half animal.
Mm-hmm. And they can control the element that they are.
Yeah. We have pirates who either are humans with magic or they are shape-shifting. They're a different kind of creature.
Mm-hmm.
And the pirates, they're on water either because they were run off of land or because they just want to live on the water because that's their place.
Yeah.
And they don't want humans to be on the water, potentially because the humans were allowed on the water and then started being mean.
Mm-hmm.
And they did something bad, and the pirates and the mermaids potentially together decided that nope, you are no longer welcome on the water, and now there's conflict between humans and pirates because of this.
Mm.
Humans are trying to, or some humans are trying to capture elementals in order to control them to gain an advantage over a neighboring country or some kind of enemy.
Mm-hmm. Is it a neighboring enemy? Like a neighboring country that's an enemy?
Mm-hmm.
Or could it be that, my kingdom is overrun by fire elementals, dragons, whatever it was.
Yeah.
They're burning everything, and I need water to control this. Because then there are also internal feuds between the elementals as well. And if all the elementals bound together, they would win this. Also, Violet, I think this is a typo, but it's really funny. Maybe the pirates were rum off generations ago. Yeah, that made me think too, because that's also become legend.
Mm-hmm.
And we said the elementals are legends to some people and stuff. My husband, do you want to introduce archives?
Yes.
Excellent. Legends. Archives. Someone writing a thesis on this. There can be an evil elemental who's helping.
Sorry.
That's okay. Who's helping the ruler hunt down other elementals? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking because we have a lot of different kinds of elementals and a lot of different individual elementals. Some of them probably don't mind being on the human side.
No, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, just like the mermaids have benefited from the pirates.
Yeah.
And been protected by. Probably if you voluntarily went to the ruler and was like, yes, me and my band of elementals will help you, you also get some protection, even if you do work for them.
Yeah.
If you come willingly, maybe,
Yeah. But then what is the actual plot?
Yeah, this came up before as well. The pirates capture the ruler's child and try to blackmail the rulers to release all the elementals they've captured so far. What if there's been a body swap?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I really don't like body swaps.
Oh, right. Yes, okay, sorry. I was thinking if this child was brought up as the princess and it turns out they were an elemental all along. But
that's not a body swap.
No?
No.
Well, then, I mean, the king, the ruler had a child, and then that child was body swapped with a different child, and they raised this child instead.
That's not a body swap.
What's a body swap then?
A body swap is when if you and I swap bodies, I suddenly wake up.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, no.
A body snatch? Is that what I mean then?
I mean a swap.
Okay, a swap, not of bodies.
Yeah, but that it's also a changeling.
Yes.
That's what a changeling is.
But they can't be changeling. 2 else?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. They can't be an elemental though, because then you would notice, aha, my child has wings. That's weird. But a pirate.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, changeling, royal child, pirate. And then, I mean, if evil runs in the veins, then that royal child who's been raised as a pirate could be the kind of pirate working for the king.
Or could be the child being sympathetic towards the pirates.
Maybe. I'm just wondering how each of those 2 people will find out that they're not the person they think they are.
I mean, whenever the person raised by the pirates realizes that, hey, I can't change shapeshift. Or whenever the shapeshifter raised as a human realizes that, I can change my face. I can turn into a mouse. This is weird.
Yeah. What if the child is being used by for evil by royals, but is destined to find balance between elementals?
Yeah.
What if what started this whole thing was the ruler actually kidnapping elementals? Elemental kids. Yeah.
Maybe.
Because the child that Amanda talks about is then the ruler's child, or the ruler's swapped child, or
I think the changeling, the elemental or shapeshifter raised by the royals. But AV said the person that swapped them has been with one of the children and later admit to them what they've done. Because I feel like, depending on how the shapeshifters and stuff work, but we'll figure that out later. But depending on how it works, the shapeshifter child that is raised by the royals has no clue, because they're human and they don't shapeshift because they don't know that they can do it. Whereas the one that is raised by the shapeshifters must know from an early age, depending on, because they can shapeshift. I really like Amanda's suggestion that maybe it really is the royal child, but the king was seduced by a mermaid or elemental, so the child is half.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. And the potentially the king or queen or whoever doesn't know, like if say it was a shapeshifter who was in human form the whole time, and the person I'm thinking now that it was a queen that was seduced, because that's the easiest way, because then it didn't have to last for a long while. But either way, the human parent doesn't know that the other parent was a shapeshifter, so has no clue that this child that I have is a half shapeshifter. But potentially someone else does, because the child needs to find out somehow.
Yeah. So they were seduced. Doesn't know it though, because I mean, then the shapeshifter could just shapeshift into their partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a thought though. Very Frozen 2. What if one of the one half of the royal couple is a shapeshifter? So there hasn't been necessarily been any seducing by an outside shapeshifter, but the child is still a half shapeshifter.
That seems very dangerous.
Yes.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I also I wonder if the child, if we go with the seduced and half shapeshifter, half human. If you have a shapeshifter parent and a shapeshifter parent, they have a shapeshifter child. If you have a shapeshifter parent and a human parent, their child should maybe be a degree of how much they can shapeshift.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't fully shapeshift.
Yeah. Or they can't always do it, or...
fully or always shapeshift. Or the queen knowingly had an affair.
Yeah.
With a shapeshifter.
And has just been hoping the entire time that the shapeshifting isn't...
genetic, or like has been...
Yeah, that the child can't do it, because...
Or is trying to usurp the king.
I'm just wondering why knowingly have a shapeshifter child in a court that is apparently, as far as we know,
not great on shapeshifting.
Yeah.
Amy would prefer the queen doing it knowingly. I agree with that though.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, if I'm the queen and this is my husband the king, and then someone shapeshifted to look like the king, and then we slept together.
It's very rapey.
It's very rapey,
yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I want the queen to have done it knowingly, or if the queen herself, like I said, she is, or the king, is a shapeshifter.
Mm.
Okay, so the plot then is that we have this changeling child, or this half shapeshifter child.
Yeah.
Who grows up in court, or we have two children growing up in different places if we do the changeling thing.
Yeah.
And they find out what they are, and then they are sympathetic with the elementals, which they actually have no connection to at all. If we have two children growing up in the wrong place, though, then the actual royal child can be sympathetic to the pirates and, by extension, the elementals, and the child who's actually a pirate can hate elementals. Right?
I mean, yes. I'm not sure I see the problem.
I'm not sure I see the plot.
That's because we don't have a plot yet.
Alex is thinking that the court wasn't that bad back then.
Yeah, it could be.
The queen was not happy with what the king is doing with elementals and wants to help the elementals, and having a secret shape-shifting child is part of the plan. That could also work, but I agree with what Markus said, that it sounds pretty dangerous to bring a shape-shifting child into court knowingly and put all my faith in you and you will.
It also depends a little bit, because again, this is a world building thing, but what if the queen and the king don't actually, the queen doesn't actually live at court?
Mm-hmm.
What if there's a thing where the king and queen don't live together.
Mm-hmm.
The queen lives in a completely different place, and that's why she thinks that, hey, I have a chance to raise this child to be better. That way she would feel a little bit safer having this child than if she lived in the middle of court where everyone hates shapeshifters.
Maybe. Alex suggesting that something happened to the queen and then the king got mad at the elementals. That could also work. But then we're justifying the king's actions in a way, which I don't like.
What if the queen ran away with an elemental or a shapeshifter?
Cool. The queen was truly in love with the shapeshifter, and that made the king mad at elementals.
Why?
I don't know. The child could be a niece and nephew of the king. Also true.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the king's. I also, in a way, do not like that we are defaulting to that we have a king.
No.
That is the ruler.
No.
But it could be. I mean, it could be that the ruler's brother or sister is the one that fell in love with an elemental or shapeshifter
and sent their kid to the court. Or it could just be they follow the child who's actually, like you said, the nephew or niece of the king.
Mm.
Not actually the king's
own
offspring, or the ruler's own offspring. What?
No, I'm just thinking, what if the...
Good talk.
Yes. What I was thinking was that if the ruler's brother or sister married a shapeshifter and had kids and all of that, and the ruler was kind of like, well, that's disgusting, but yeah. And then either something happens, or it turns out that the ruler is unable to have children, or for some reason these are now the heirs.
I like it.
And then potentially that niece nephew grew up with the shapeshifters.
Yeah.
Which is how we now have a sympathetic person.
And
then we probably have a lot of people at court who don't want this heir to actually be the heir and trying to discredit that.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this kingdom where there is a ruler and there is a court. And the ruler is unable to have children, but the ruler's sibling went and got married, or had sex with at least an elemental, and had children. and they now become the heirs. Exactly, yes. And they are sympathetic to the shapeshifters because they are shapeshifters. This doesn't really bring the elementals into this.
Does it have to?
If they exist, maybe they should be mentioned.
Yeah, but I mean, this is just the core of it. We can bring elementals in later.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, this section then that I'm highlighting now is basically sympathetic. This that I'm highlighting now is basically then the base plot.
Yeah. Or the background. This is the backstory, sort of.
Do we like it, chat? Do you like it, Markus?
I like it.
Yeah.
That's a place to start from, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. The ruler thinks shapeshifters are awful, and as soon as the shapeshifter kids are the heirs, they start making anti-shapeshifter laws and stuff to keep them from the throne. Yeah. Maybe there's another, like, further down the succession order. There is another fully human, as far as they're aware at least, child that they would rather see on the throne, but they themselves can't kill this offspring, these heirs, and so they just want the people to do it. Or, I mean, couldn't they just pass a law that shapeshifters can't have the throne? That would be very, very, very quick and easy, though. I think we could have a secondary protagonist as an elemental. I like that. I think something good could come from that. Let's see. The ruler hates shapeshifters. Shapeshifters, and as soon as they learn about the heir, start passing laws to keep them from the throne. Shapeshifter secondary protagonist. I'm not sure why I swapped that, but protagonist. So you call that? Yes. Aaron suggested that the ruler thinks shapeshifters are awful, and as soon as the shapeshifter kids, they learn that the shapeshifter kids are the heirs, they start making anti-shapeshifter laws to keep them off the throne.
Yeah.
And I said that they can't just kill them themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the easiest law would just be to no elemental shall ever, or no shapeshifter shall ever sit on this throne. Would be a very easy law.
That depends on how the laws in that world is made and stuff.
Evie thinks that we could have a secondary protagonist who is a shapeshifter, or who is an elemental.
Yeah.
Whatever, right, shapeshifter. I'm so sorry. Maybe the child must journey far and wide to see each of the elementals and get them on board with the mission. And they have to go with the pirates to see the mermaids. I like that, though.
What's the mission in that case?
To rally support. I'm thinking if elementals are still a part, but they weren't, they were going to be not really part of the human community. I don't know, I'm just thinking if they are, they still have a right to vote on the succession order. That's not how that works. But if they can, like, bond together with the elementals and get support that way, I don't know. When this happens, the ruler's Sib sends the children to the pirates for safety. I assume when the law passing, your previous comment. Maybe it was like the third or fourth heir who got married off for peace. Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do make it illegal for shapeshifters to rule, but they also make laws hoping the situation won't happen again.
So is the main character then the half shapeshifter who is now the heir? And then we have a second one who's an elemental.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the goal of the half shapeshifter is to rule.
I mean, I would assume they don't actually want to rule. Unless they can sort of unite the country, the people.
Because, I mean, the thing is, if they don't actually want to rule, then what's the problem?
True.
I could see, especially if the hate of shapeshifters and elementals potentially is not an, like, ancient thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's relatively new, or at least there has been a period of, we're sort of getting along.
Mm-hmm.
then I can see how this half shapeshifter would think that, well, if I get on the throne and if I'm a good ruler and I make good laws and all of that, people will stop being so scared of shapeshifters.
Yeah. I mean, there was someone, I think that maybe it was Alex a while ago, who suggested that the something happened to the king or to the queen or to someone by elementals, and that's sort of what started it.
Yeah.
That could still happen. I also want to know if the elementals themselves are at war with one another. Like, are all elementals on the same side, apart from the occasional rogue one that we talked about before? Or do the water and fire ones not get along, and do the bird air ones prefer the plant? Like, is that a whole thing too? Do we have like elementals, or do we have groups of elementals pitted against one another too?
Do they have to be pitted? Can't they just be groups of elementals? Do they have to be at war?
No, they don't.
Because I've been sort of thinking of them as their separate, like, nations or tribes or like groups that they are like, we are separate, we don't hate each other, we also don't hang out a lot, but sort of.
Yeah. The goal is to undo the discriminatory laws and policies. They don't want to rule just to stop war, but they end up in line of succession. There we go. When the rest die off throughout the story. Yeah. Or the half shapeshift doesn't want to rule, but there are a bunch of people who want them to usurp the kingdom because the ruler is awful. Yeah. Maybe that's a challenge. The different elementals don't get along, and the child must get them to rally together. Yeah. I mean, then we would get to do a lot of world building, and we would also see a lot of elementals kind of up close. What if there is no way for the ruler to ban this child from taking over the throne when the ruler dies? But they can't make a law of like, no elemental shall sit on the throne, or I will just revoke your place in the succession or something like that. But what if it's a thing? We're entering into world building, I know, but what if it's a thing in this country that in order to, like, you don't just get the birthright of like, yes, you're the next ruler, and then when your parent dies you take over, but you have to do something to prove yourself to be worthy of.
Is that how all the other heirs die? You have to go complete this mission, and so they send the heir, but the heir doesn't make it, and then they send the next one, and eventually it's this shapeshifter's turn.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Either that, or like, I don't know how much people have, how many offsprings people have, but like when the ruler hits 60 years of age, all heirs, all people in line to the succession between the ages of, I don't know, 18 and 25, duel to the death. Sort of. Throwing a bit of Hunger Games in there. I don't know. The risk is that there will be no heir. I mean, if all the people in line who are of childbearing ages have had their children and stop having children, and then these children are pitted against each other, we could walk away with no heir. But I like what you said, Marcus, about like the heir number 1 fails, heir number 2 fails, and then we trickle down to like heir 16.
Yeah.
Who is this poor kid?
And I'm thinking if the challenge or if the mission is not really something all that dangerous or all that difficult, or hasn't been in the previous years. Like, you have to go here and fetch a flower from this mountain. And that's usually just I'm going to go to the mountain, I'm fetching a flower, and then I'm coming back. But this year, this time, this generation, for some reason, no one makes it.
But they've still sent off one by one.
That was my thinking, but yeah.
I mean, also, if in the world or this country or whatever, the elementals are a thing, and they have been for generations, but they don't get along with they keep themselves separate from the humans, but they're part of the challenge. Like you said, pick a flower from a mountain, then we have plant and earth, or plant and rock, possibly, elementals. And usually so long as you find them, because maybe you're sent off with a map and a compass, you know,
Yeah.
and very little provisions. So long as you find it, they give you the flower and you leave.
Yeah.
But now, the ruler has been so horrible to elementals that they fight back, or they don't willingly let someone enter their territory, or they something. They could all be equally available as an heir, but the one approved of a council or current ruler or something chose which one has achieved the most and is most appropriate to take over. The ruler is trying to do a magic thing to make them immortal and the forever ruler, and is trying to get the heirs killed off without murdering them. They just made up challenges to remove the threats. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the humans don't hate both shapeshifters and elementals.
No.
They hate shapeshifters, but usually get along with elementals, for example.
Yeah, true. The quest is fetch a sea flower from the mermaids. Before, when the relations were good, it was easy, but now that they don't get along, it's much harder and more dangerous. Yeah. I mean, okay, I don't know if you want to... Now I'm, like, sectioning off the world into, like, this is the mermaids' territory, this is the harpies' territory, like, outside the cities or something.
Yeah.
And, like, you're sent off on a quest to each region, each section, as a person in line to the throne. And also, it's gotten more and more dangerous because they are fighting back. And then the question is, are they fighting back because down with the monarchy and the king and screw your bloodline? Or is it, like, will they yield easier with the shapeshifter? Because they like shapeshifters.
I don't know, either or. Some humans hate shapeshifters, but some like them. The ruler hates them and uses their power to set the kingdom against them. Shapeshifters assume this means humans suck now. I mean, fair enough. Yes, so there are challenges, and people have always done them sort of like more a ritual than anything else, really. You just have to walk in there and grab the thing, and then you can leave. And now, all of a sudden, it's not that easy, because potentially the elementals have decided that we don't want it to be this easy. We don't want you to keep ruling this way because you're starting to make laws against us, for example. Elementals are in league with the shapeshifters and want the half-shapeshifter child to be the heir, so they cheat and make the other heirs lose. It's interesting how will the kingdom react if all of a sudden the elementals get to decide who is the ruler or not, because that they might not like that, and then the people might think that this shapeshifter is actually not the legitimate heir because of reasons. We don't want elementals to decide who rules us, even though that's how it's sort of been done before. But yeah, because I think it's important to figure out what the common people actually think, because they do have a say in who gets to rule them. And now we might be getting a civil war on our hands, which is fun.
I mean, the ruler themselves can't be the only one who is against shapeshifters.
No.
For example. But I also kind of don't want the entire country to be against them.
No.
I just want to ask, when I was leaving, I think what we were saying then was like the challenges, and I talked about different regions of shapeshift or of elementals and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I lost track of, so I didn't continue on that path.
Cool. I'm just going to write that somewhere.